The moment your eyes open in the morning, you are at war, not with the world, not with your schedule, but with something far more dangerous, comfort. That sweet voice that says, just a few more minutes. Start tomorrow. Play it safe. And if you're not ready, if you don't rise with intention, that voice wins and your dream dies a little more before breakfast. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Your morning isn't a time slot. It's a message you send to the universe that says, I'm serious. Or a message that says, I'm still sleeping through my potential. The successful, the relentless, the unstoppable, the legendary, they don't start their day like everyone else. They build it. They don't wake up into chaos. They create clarity because they know one thing the average forgets. Mornings are sacred, and the way you rise will determine how far you go. Habit 1, they master the first thought. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phone, injecting distraction, comparison, and noise straight into their bloodstream. But not the successful. The successful protect the first thought of the day like it's oxygen, because it is. Your first thought is the rudder of your mind. It decides if you drift or drive, if you spiral or soar. So they wake up and take command, not by accident, but by design. Before the world invades their consciousness, they set the tone with gratitude, with purpose, with fire. Not, I have to, but I get to. Not another day, but another opportunity. Not, let's see what happens, but let's make it happen. And from that one shift, they don't walk into the day, they launch. Habit 2, they dominate the physical. Before emails, before meetings, before decisions, they move. Because the body is not just a vessel, it's a trigger. Motion is the fastest way to summon motivation, to move from sleep to certainty, to transition from dreams to domination. This isn't about having a six-pack. This is about discipline. This is about sweat as a spiritual act. This is about looking the morning in the face and saying, I choose power today. When you push your body, you push your limits. You remind yourself that resistance is not your enemy. It's your training partner. You start your day in victory, and that victory compounds because a body in motion leads a life in momentum. Habit 3, they spend time in silence before they step into noise. The world is loud. Your phone is loud. The news, the timelines, the expectations, all of it screams for your attention. But the successful, they start with stillness because clarity doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you don't make space for it, you'll miss it. They sit with themselves not to escape, but to listen, to recalibrate, to remember who they are. Prayer, meditation, reflection, breath. Not because it's trendy, but because their inner world must be stronger than the outer one. If you don't control the first voice you hear, the world will decide what you believe. But when you set the frequency, the rest of the day has no choice but to rise to it. Habit 4, they review their vision daily. Successful people don't write their goals once. They read them every morning like scripture. They don't drift through the day hoping to find focus. They anchor their soul in purpose. While the average scrolls aimlessly, they stare into their future. They remind themselves what they're building. They burn the image into their nervous system until it's more real than the room they're standing in. That vision becomes command, and from it comes decisions, direction, and drive. You want to stay on fire? Then stop trying to remember your goals. Reignite them every single morning. Habit 5, they take immediate ownership through action. The successful don't wait to feel ready. They don't ease into the day like it's a warm bath. They attack it. They do something hard first. They do something meaningful now because they understand the longer you wait, the weaker you become. While the world is still yawning, they're already creating. They're already writing. They're already building the momentum that average people spend all day chasing. And it's not because they're superhuman. It's because they don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, is it aligned with who I said I would become? They don't negotiate with laziness. They eliminate it because every excuse is an enemy of their empire. They know discipline before the world wakes up becomes domination after the world starts moving. And so they move, not with speed, but with certainty, not with hustle, but with honor, not with pressure, but with purpose. Because when you move in purpose, even the smallest act becomes sacred. The workout becomes a war cry. The cold shower becomes a declaration. The journal becomes a blueprint. The schedule becomes proof that you are no longer living by default. Now listen closely, because this is the moment you decide what kind of life you're going to build from this day forward. You don't need more time. You don't need better conditions. You don't need the perfect morning routine. You need to become the person who wakes up with fire in their lungs and refuses to waste it. You need to become the kind of soul who gets out of bed with the same intensity most people only find when they're desperate. Because you're not desperate. You're devoted. Devoted to your future. Devoted to your purpose. Devoted to rising while others sleep. To pushing while others pause. To becoming while others wish. The morning is your proving ground. The testing ground, the launching pad. And the moment you stop waking up into chaos and start waking up with command, you stop living reactively and start leading a life that cannot be ignored. You want success? Then win the first battle of the day, and the rest will obey. Let the world sleep. Let the weak wait. But you rise. You build. You own the morning. And in doing so, you own your life. The most powerful weapon you will ever possess is not your intelligence, not your talent, not even your drive. It is your mindset. And not the kind of mindset people post about in shallow quotes and coffee mug slogans. I'm talking about the mindset forged in fire. The mindset born from being broken and choosing to rise anyway. The mindset that doesn't flinch when the world shakes. This is the solid mindset, and it doesn't arrive. It is built deliberately, brutally, relentlessly, because life doesn't care about your potential. Life pays attention to your preparation. And if your mind is not built like steel, then your goals will collapse like glass. The storms will come. They always do. The question is not if. The question is, will your mind be ready? Will it stand? Will it push back? Will it command the chaos instead of being swallowed by it? A solid mindset is not born from wishing. It is born from work, inner work, soul work. It's not about thinking positively, it's about thinking powerfully. And it starts with the first element, ownership. You must own everything. Your choices, your thoughts, your reactions, your results. Blame is the language of the weak. Excuses are the chains of the average. But ownership is liberation. The moment you stop pointing fingers and start pointing inward, your life begins to transform. Because when you own it all, you can change it all. Responsibility is not a burden. It's the gate to your power. You either own your mind or someone else will. From that root, the second element grows. Standards. Your mindset can only rise to the level of your standards. What you tolerate, you endorse. What you ignore, you become. Raise your standards not just for your results, but for your behavior. What time you wake up, how you speak to yourself, what energy you allow around you, Discipline is not just about the gym or the schedule, it's about the identity you protect. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. So set them high, enforce them fiercely. Make your life a temple, not a tent. Then build the third element. Focus. Laser. Locked in. Undistracted focus. We are living in the age of attention warfare. And every moment your focus is scattered, your power is diluted. A solid mindset protects its focus like a lion guards its territory. No wasted scrolls, no toxic input, no empty conversations. It doesn't grow you, feed you, or serve your vision. It doesn't belong. You only get so much mental bandwidth. Spend it like gold. Master your focus, and you master the battlefield. Next, chisel in the fourth element. Emotional control. A weak mind reacts. A strong mind responds. You cannot lead your life if you cannot lead your emotions. Anger, fear, jealousy, comparison. These are thieves. They steal your clarity, your peace, your momentum. But they only have power if you let them live in you unchallenged. Learn to sit in your feelings without becoming them. Learn to breathe when the fire comes. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't fold. It means your emotions serve you, not enslave you. The fifth element is perhaps the most dangerous to ignore. Self-talk. What you whisper to yourself in private becomes your public fate. The most toxic voice is not out there. It's the one inside you, unchecked. You don't need motivation if your internal dialogue is disciplined. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for building. Encourage, command, lead. Your self-talk should be like a coach, not a critic. Your words are spells. Make sure you're not cursing your future with small talk. Now we arrive at the sixth element, the iron shield, resilience. You can have all the goals, all the affirmations, all the morning routines, but if you can't bounce back, you won't last. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about rising faster every time you do. It's about turning every setback into a sharpening stone. It's about knowing that pain is not your enemy, it is your trainer. The resilient mind doesn't break. It bends. It adapts. It adjusts. It advances. Then, deep in the foundation, there's the seventh element, identity. Who do you believe you are? Because you will never act consistently in a way that contradicts your identity. If you see yourself as average, you'll sabotage success. If you see yourself as a warrior, you'll fight differently. You must install the identity you need to fulfill your future. Don't wait until you achieve it, become it. Walk like it, talk like it, think like it. Your identity is the thermostat of your life. Set it high and never lower it to match the room. The eighth element, like lightning in your bloodstream, is belief. Belief is not hope. Belief is certainty in advance. It's the internal conviction that your vision must come to pass. And when belief lives in your bones, you walk differently. You take bigger swings. You bet on yourself when no one else will. You don't need approval. You already gave it to yourself. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains. Finally, the ninth, the unshakable pillar beneath it all, long-term vision. If your mindset is not anchored in a future worth fighting for, you'll give up. Short-term minds get crushed by pressure. Long-term vision creates perspective. When you know where you're going, the setbacks become scenes, not the story. The losses become lessons. And the pain becomes the price you're willing to pay. Because your future is not a fantasy. It's a contract written in vision, signed with belief, and delivered by discipline. A solid mindset is not a gift. It is a forge. And you are the fire. Then let the fire rise higher, because we are not here to build ordinary minds. We are here to forge unshakable, immovable, legendary minds that don't bend when the pressure mounts, they sharpen. Let's take everything we've laid down, And now press it deeper into the foundation. Because a solid mindset isn't built once. It is reinforced every single day. Every thought you allow, every habit you tolerate, every conversation you entertain, it's either cementing your greatness or cracking your foundation. This is where most people lose in the everyday. Not in the big events, not in the once-a-year breakthroughs, but in the tiny choices that accumulate like bricks until you either stand on a fortress or get buried under your own mediocrity. So ask yourself daily, is this thought building me? Is this decision aligning me with who I said I want to become? Is this moment honoring the future I say I crave? A solid mindset lives by alignment. No more performing one way and thinking another. No more posting like a king but living like a prisoner. It's time to unify your life from the inside out. And make no mistake, that means sacrifice. You must sacrifice your lower self. The version of you that settles, scrolls, snoozes, blames, waits. That version has to die daily so the real you can rise daily. Because your potential is not sleeping, it's starving. Starving for discipline. Starving for belief. Starving for someone brave enough to stop waiting for permission and start living with conviction. Your mindset must be your greatest ally, not your biggest saboteur. It must be a garden, not a garbage dump. So clean it out. Pull the weeds of self-doubt. Burn the dead wood of regret. Plant seeds of power, of wisdom, of vision, and water them with daily commitment. You don't get a solid mindset by reading about it. You get it by living it. By walking into situations that should break you and refusing to shatter. By standing up after failure and saying, this is where I'm most dangerous. Right here. Right now. Because a solid mindset doesn't avoid the fire. It becomes fireproof. It doesn't shrink when misunderstood. It expands. It doesn't lower its frequency to fit in. It radiates at full power until the room adjusts. And here's the truth they won't tell you. You will outgrow people. You will intimidate the small-minded. You will be questioned, doubted, challenged. Good. That's how you know the transformation is working. When your energy gets too big for small circles, keep expanding. When your vision offends, those who refuse to change, keep building. When your standards isolate, you keep rising. Because a solid mindset is not looking for comfort, it is looking for alignment. Not popularity, but purpose. You are not here to be liked. You are here to lead. And that starts with leading yourself. Lead your thoughts. Lead your actions. Lead your mornings. Lead your mood. Lead your mindset like it's the most precious asset you own, because it is. You want wealth? Master your mindset. You want peace? Master your mindset. You want influence, impact, freedom, power, fulfillment? Master your mindset. Every dream you have is locked behind the gate of your own thinking. And the only way to break through is to become the kind of person who can't be shaken. So decide right now, not tomorrow, not next week, to become unbreakable, to become undeniable, to become the rare breed who walks into any room and never flinches, because their mindset doesn't move. That is your foundation, and it will carry you to heights no one can even pronounce. Understand this. A solid mindset isn't just protection, it's propulsion. It doesn't just defend you from chaos, it drives you through it. It's the invisible engine behind every breakthrough, every leap, every quiet miracle you manifest. It's not a shield you hold. It's the force you become. And to truly lock it in, you must live by what I call the unbreakable code. Not rules written on paper, but principles etched into the soul. Principles that don't change when life gets hard. Principles that define you so the world can never confuse you. The first, you are not your circumstances. Your bank account doesn't define you. Your job title doesn't validate you. Your past does not predict you. You are not your failures. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are the architect of what comes next. You are the authority on your identity, and no one gets to write your future but you. The second, hard is not a reason to stop. It's the reason to start. Hard means you're doing something worthy. Hard means you're growing. Hard means you're on the right road. A solid mindset is addicted to challenge. It wakes up craving resistance because it knows that resistance builds range, and range is power. The more you can handle, the more you can hold, and the more you can hold, the further you rise. The third, delay is not denial. A solid mindset doesn't panic when things take longer. It doesn't fold when the results aren't instant. It trusts the compound effect. It trusts the hidden work. It trusts that the universe rewards the prepared, not the impatient. You don't plant in spring and harvest in summer without tending to the soil daily. You don't win the war in one battle. You win by showing up again and again and again until there's no resistance left. The fourth, the world reflects what you believe you're worth. So, raise your value not in ego, but in identity. Walk like you matter. Speak like you have something eternal inside you. Show up like your time is sacred. People treat you according to the energy you accept. Life rewards you based on the level of belief you broadcast. So stop discounting your spirit. Stop offering clearance rack versions of your destiny. You are not a product of the world. You are a producer of new worlds. The fifth, everything is training. The delay, training. The pain, training. The betrayal, the rejection, the detour, the silence, all of it is training. Training you to be the person who can carry the life you say you want. That means you don't resent the storm. You respect it because you know it's here to stretch you, shape you, sharpen you. This is how a solid mindset thinks. If it's hard, I get better. If it's slow, I get stronger. If it breaks me, I rebuild wiser. There is nothing the world can throw at you that you cannot convert into fuel. And the sixth, the crown jewel. You were built for this, not just born. Built, forged, chosen, called, prepared. Nothing about you is an accident. Not the hunger, not the vision, not the nights you can't sleep because something inside you knows you were made for more. That's not delusion, that's destiny calling. You are built to lead, built to create, built to become a walking standard of what is possible. But to fulfill that call, you must master the battlefield between your ears. Because if you lose there, you lose everywhere. But if you win there, if you build the mind that cannot be shaken, cannot be broken, cannot be turned against itself, then there is nothing you cannot build, nothing you cannot conquer, nothing you cannot become. This is your mind, your most powerful asset, your most sacred responsibility, your throne, your engine, your sanctuary. Build it strong, build it solid, and then watch the world bend to match it. Because everything you've heard up to now has not been for your inspiration. It has been for your awakening. This isn't just motivation, this is resurrection. The resurrection of your fire. The fire that life tried to dim. The fire that disappointment tried to drown. The fire that fear tried to smother. But here's the truth they never taught you. You were never meant to be tame. You were never meant to be average. You were never meant to just cope with life. You were meant to command it. And a solid mindset is the sword you wield in that battle. So let the world doubt you. Let the critics watch. Let the voices whisper, who do you think you are? And smile. Smile because you know. You know exactly who you are. You are the one who refused to shrink. The one who rose from the ashes with steel in your soul. The one who looked weakness in the eye and said, not today. You are not afraid of hard. You welcome it because you know pressure creates diamonds and you are born to shine. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more clarity. It needs more leadership. It needs more you, the real you, not the filtered version. So stop dimming your light to protect other people's comfort. Stop hiding your gifts under the mask of humility. Stop playing it safe and calling it wisdom. Step out. Stand tall. Speak with fire. Move with purpose. Let them feel your energy before you say a word. Let your mindset be so solid, so unshakable, so alive, that just being around you reminds people of their own greatness. This is not a performance. This is your becoming, and the world will try to distract you. It will try to derail you. It will try to break you. And that's exactly how you'll know that you're on the right path. Because the more powerful you become, the more resistance you attract. But a solid mindset doesn't flinch. It feeds on it. You spend enough time doubting, enough time waiting, enough time second-guessing your gift. Now is the season of execution. Now is the era of elevation. Now is the time for everything to change. Because once your mind is locked in, once your thoughts are aligned, once your fire is lit and your eyes are clear and your soul is unapologetically awake, there is no force on earth that can contain you. Not fear, not failure, not fatigue, nothing. So go. Go build the thing they said was impossible. Go become the person you were always destined to be. Go create a life that doesn't just impress people, but a life that awakens them. You are no longer hoping to win. You are expecting to, because you've built the one thing that no one can take from you, a mind that's stronger than circumstance, sharper than fear, and steadier than any storm. You've built the solid mindset, and now the world is yours. You weren't born to struggle. You weren't born to settle. You weren't put on this earth to wake up tired, live on autopilot, and die with your potential still sealed inside you. You were born to prosper, to thrive, to rise above circumstance and build a life so aligned with purpose that even the universe leans in to watch. But here's the truth. They didn't teach you in school. Prosperity is not handed out. Success is not inherited. Freedom is not gifted. They are unlocked. And the lock is inside you, not in the economy, not in your background, not in your DNA. The vault that holds your next level doesn't require a key from the outside. It requires a code. 10 eternal principles that, when activated, break open every limitation that's ever stood between you and the life you were designed to live. The first key is this: mindset is the gateway. Before a dollar flows to your account, before opportunity knocks, before your name is known, your mindset must be rebuilt. Because if you still think like the old you, you'll sabotage the new season. You'll reject the blessing. You'll overlook the open door. You'll undercharge, underperform, underestimate, and blame everything except the lens in your own mind. So reframe it. You are not broke. You are becoming resourceful. You are not behind. You are building depth. You are not stuck. You are in preparation. The mind must shift before the money shows up. You don't think wealthy after you get rich. You think wealthy so you can become rich. Key 2, belief is a force multiplier. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you work for. You get what you believe is possible for someone like you. And belief isn't a mood. It's a weapon. It's the invisible blueprint that draws abundance to your door. Because the world doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to certainty. And if you believe, truly believe, that your vision is divine, that your work has weight, that your purpose is non-negotiable, then doors open, people appear, resources align. But you must go first. You must believe before the evidence. You must act before the applause. You must move like the outcome is already done because in another dimension it is. Key 3, clarity unlocks acceleration. Most people are not moving slow because they're lazy. They're moving slow because they're confused. They say they want success, but they haven't defined it. They say they want wealth, but they haven't decided what they'll trade for it. They say they want purpose, but they haven't sat still long enough to listen. You cannot hit a target you haven't named. You cannot build a life that's based on vibes and vague hopes. You need clarity, sharp, specific, soul-deep clarity. What do you want? Why does it matter? And what pain are you willing to endure to see it through? Until you answer that you're wandering. But once you do, you start compounding. Every day begins to stack. Every action finds its lane. Every breath begins to serve the vision. Clarity doesn't make things easy. It makes them inevitable. Key 4, vision must be lived, not just looked at. It's not enough to have a dream board. It's not enough to write your goals and then close the book. Your vision must live inside you. It must breathe through your choices. It must burn in your bones. Because a vision that isn't vivid becomes vapor. And vapor will never move you through a storm. So build your vision into your identity. Speak it, walk it, act like it's already real. Because when your life begins to mirror your future instead of your past, you don't just attract success, you embody it. Key 5, purpose is your eternal fuel. Money will run out. Motivation will fade. Momentum will slow. But purpose? Purpose is perpetual fire. When you tie your work to something bigger than yourself, you unlock a level of strength, focus, and resilience that shallow ambition can never sustain. Purpose doesn't ask if you feel like it. It commands you. It gets you out of bed when you're broken. It keeps you in the fight when it's hard. It makes you patient in the process and powerful in the storm. You don't need more motivation. You need to remember your purpose. Why did you start? Who are you doing it for? What's the cost of you staying the same? Those answers are your power, and they never run dry. Key 6, discipline is the bridge between intention and identity. You can dream it. You can write it. You can speak it into the mirror until your voice cracks. But if you don't execute it, it dies in your mouth. Discipline is what separates the inspired from the impactful, the dreamers from the doers, the wishers from the warriors. Because there's only one way to prove you're serious about your future. You show up every day, not just when it's sunny, not just when you're in the mood, not just when it's Instagrammable, but when no one sees, when it's boring, when it's heavy, when it's war. Discipline is love in action. It says, I care about my future self enough to sacrifice for them now. It says, this work is sacred and I treat it that way. You want to know how far someone will go? Don't look at their goals. Look at their routines. The ones who win don't have more time. They just waste less of it. Key 7, action beats everything. Not strategy, not talent, not perfection. Action, bold, fast, messy, massive action. While others plan, you move. While others doubt, you build. While others wait, you win. Because success doesn't reward the best ideas. It rewards the ones who ship, the ones who launch, the ones who risk failure because they understand the true failure is standing still. Action is a declaration. It says to the world, I'm not afraid of looking foolish. I'm afraid of waking up in 5 years and realizing I still haven't moved. You want to unlock prosperity? Then move like your life depends on it, because it does. Key 8, gratitude amplifies everything. Gratitude isn't soft. It's not just journaling and sunsets and smiling at strangers. Gratitude is power. It shifts your frequency from lack to abundance, from victim to victor, from stress to strategy. Because when you're truly grateful, not for everything being perfect, but for the chance to become better, you unlock peace and productivity. You stop needing more to feel worthy. And ironically, that's when more comes. Gratitude expands capacity. Gratitude multiplies momentum. Gratitude silences the noise and tunes you to the signal of enoughness. And when you live from enough, you create from overflow. And overflow builds empires. Key 9. Adaptability is wealth insurance. Things will change. Markets shift. Plans break. People walk away. But the ones who win are not the ones who predicted everything. They're the ones who adjusted to anything. You must become fluid. Unshakable in purpose, but flexible in method. Married to the mission, but unattached to the map. Adaptability is emotional intelligence in motion. It says, I don't panic, I pivot. It says, this didn't go how I planned, good, now I grow. Because when life tests you, it's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to promote you. And only the adaptable get promoted. Key 10. Resilience is the crown of the prosperous. This is the final key, the one that makes all the others stick. The ability to take a hit and rise higher, to be told no and knock again, to fail publicly and walk forward like nothing happened because your mission is too sacred to quit. Resilience is when your spirit outlasts the storm, when your faith outweighs the fear, when your commitment is stronger than your circumstances. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be fearless, but you do have to be relentless, because the path to success is not paved with comfort. It's carved in the rock by the hands of those who refuse to stop. The ones who bled, the ones who broke, the ones who believed anyway. And that can be you. Then open your heart wide, raw, ready, because this is the moment it all comes together. Not just the words, not just the ideas. You, standing at the edge of the life you've always imagined. And the only thing between you and that life is the version of you that's still afraid to unlock the door. But the keys are in your hand now. Not metaphorically, literally. 10 eternal truths burned into your bone. Truths that don't just inspire, they ignite. And now is the time to use them. Because the clock isn't waiting. The dream isn't holding its breath. And the future is watching. It's waiting to see if you will rise. Will you let another day pass in hesitation? Will you scroll past your calling one more time? Will you drown in comfort, one distraction at a time? Or will you decide that today is sacred? Decide that effort is holy. Decide that every breath from this moment forward will be spent building the life that once only lived in your imagination. You want prosperity? Then become prosperous. Prosperous in discipline. Prosperous in self-respect. Prosperous in the way you carry yourself when nobody's clapping. You want success? Then become unshakable. So rooted in purpose that storms just sharpen your edge. So aligned in vision that failure becomes fertilizer. So built in belief that nothing and no one can take your momentum. Because this is your time. This is your permission slip to rise. You don't need another podcast. You don't need another quote. You need to move, execute, build, speak, lead, break, heal, rise. You are the key. You've always been. Now unlock the life you were born to build. And don't just live it. Leave proof that you were here. They never taught you this in school. That the most important assignment in life isn't your homework, it's your soul work. And the curriculum? Pain, struggle, triumph, obsession, discipline, vision. The real classroom is not made of desks and chalkboards. It's made of silence at midnight. It's made of broken dreams reborn in the fire of persistence. It's the mirror you stare into when nobody believes in you, and you have to find the strength to believe in yourself anyway. That's where success begins. Not on the stage, not on the screen, not when they're clapping, but when no one's watching and you're still moving forward. You see, success doesn't shout. It whispers. It whispers to the hungry. It whispers to the ones willing to trade comfort for greatness. And if you're willing to listen, Really listen, not with your ears, but with your soul. Then you will hear the 10 life-altering truths that will shatter your limits and reshape your destiny. The first is this: mindset is not a buzzword, it's your entire world. Your mindset is the thermostat of your life. You don't get what you want. You don't even get what you deserve. You get what you're conditioned to expect. Your life is always mirroring what you believe to be true about yourself. You think like a victim. You attract circumstances that validate your weakness. You think like a conqueror. And suddenly life starts revealing paths where others only saw dead ends. And hear this well: you will never outperform your identity. If deep down you still see yourself as average, no amount of hustle will elevate your life permanently. Success isn't about doing more. It's about becoming more. So you must upgrade your internal software. Eliminate every thought that begins with, "I'm not the kind of person who," because you are exactly the kind of person who can if you dare to rewire your mind. Protect your thoughts like a vault, because whatever gets in runs the show. Now listen to the second truth: belief builds empires. Every skyscraper of success was first built in the invisible realm of belief. Belief is the blueprint, action is the hammer, and doubt is demolition. You don't need the world to believe in you. You need one person, you. And if that belief is strong enough, if that fire is relentless enough, you will light a path through the darkness that others will eventually follow. But you must go first, even when you don't feel ready, especially when you don't feel ready. Because belief is not something you have, it's something you do. You speak it before you see it. You walk toward it before the road is clear. And with every step into uncertainty, belief becomes reality. The person who believes in their vision will always have an advantage over the person who simply waits for proof. Third, clarity is power. Most people aren't failing. They're just vague. They say, "I want more money. How much? I want to be successful. What does that look like?" A cloudy target never gets hit. You must define success so clearly that your subconscious has no choice but to hunt it down. Describe it, visualize it, break it into precise, measurable, soul-stirring goals. Because when your vision is razor sharp, the fog lifts, the excuses die, and your energy begins to organize itself around that single burning aim. You're not overwhelmed. You're under-clarified. Get specific. What do you want? Why do you want it? What pain will it cost you to stay where you are? Write it down. Read it every morning like scripture. Burn it into your brain. Because if you don't program your mind for clarity, the world will program it for confusion. And now hear this next one with your whole heart. Vision is a responsibility. It's not a dream, it's a divine assignment. If a vision has been placed in your mind, it means you are already worthy of achieving it. But visions die in comfort zones. Your vision must become an obsession, a righteous fire that consumes your excuses. You don't need more motivation. You need a bigger vision. When the vision is big enough, the obstacles shrink. When the vision is deep enough, discipline becomes devotion. And when the vision is sacred enough, the opinions of others become irrelevant. Stop waiting for permission to rise. You weren't born to blend in with the background of life. You were born to leave footprints on the mountain. But you'll never reach the peak if your vision doesn't burn hotter than your distractions. Fifth, purpose is fuel that never runs dry. Money will motivate you for a while. Applause will excite you briefly. But purpose? Purpose will wake you up at 4 a.m. with fire in your lungs. Purpose is not something you find, it's something you choose. It's found where your pain meets your potential. It's in the thing you've been through that almost broke you and the lesson it taught you. It's in what angers you, what moves you, what you can't ignore. Your purpose is the fingerprint of your soul. And until you honor it, success will feel hollow. Choose something bigger than you. Attach your grind to something that outlives you. Because when you do it for others, when you do it for legacy, You tap into a reservoir of strength that excuses cannot drown. Now, we arrive at the sixth lesson, the iron law. Discipline is love, not punishment, not restriction, love. Discipline is the love you show yourself when you refuse to settle for less than you're capable of. You will not always be motivated. That's a fact. But you can always choose discipline. That's power. Discipline is doing what must be done long after the mood has left the room. People say, I don't feel like it. Let me tell you something. Your feelings are liars. They are trained to keep you safe, not to make you successful. You must lead your feelings, not be led by them. Every time you say no to the easy path, you are building a new future. Every time you follow through, even when it hurts, you are casting a vote for your future self. And the more votes you cast, the more undeniable that version of you becomes. Discipline is freedom. It's the highest act of self-respect. Because when you can command yourself, you can command your destiny. That's the seventh truth. And it doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you're willing to do. Too many people wait for a sign, for the stars to align, for the fear to fade. But action is not a reward, it's the requirement. You don't need more time. You need more courage. Action cures doubt. Motion silences fear. Boldness rewrites the script. There is no such thing as the right time. There is now. There is always now. Every second you hesitate, your future shrinks in the rearview mirror. And that voice inside you whispering, I know I'm meant for more. It doesn't need a plan, it needs a move. Start messy. Start scared. Start anyway. Because the greatest danger in life isn't failure, it's regret. And you will never regret giving everything you had to a dream that refused to let go of you. Now burn this into your soul. The eighth lesson, gratitude multiplies everything. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's not passivity. It is the most aggressive form of wealth attraction. Gratitude tells the universe, I am ready for more. It tunes your spirit to abundance, not lack. You see, success does not grow in the soil of complaint. It dies there. Gratitude is a mental fertilizer. It expands everything it touches. You want more? Celebrate what you already have. You want to succeed? Appreciate the struggle, because it's refining you. Every moment you choose to focus on what's working, not what's missing. You shift from victim to victor. Gratitude is not a journal entry. It's a state of war against scarcity. Practice it until it becomes your default setting, until even your pain becomes a praise song. Because when you can thank the storm, you've already won. And now we descend into the fire of the ninth truth. Adaptability is a superpower. Life will not ask your permission to change. It will break your plans. It will flip your timelines. And if you are rigid, you will snap. But if you are fluid, if you are flexible, you will rise like steam from any battlefield. The ones who thrive are not the strongest. They're the quickest to pivot, the quickest to evolve. Because life rewards the agile, not the arrogant. Let go of your attachment to how you thought it would look. Marry the mission, not the method. If the door closes, kick open a window. If the map burns, trust your internal compass. Adaptability means you stop whining about change and start becoming the storm. You become the unpredictable force, the unstoppable current. And you understand that every twist in the story was sent to sharpen your edge. Finally, the 10th truth, perhaps the most sacred of all, resilience is the price of greatness. You will get knocked down. You will be betrayed. You will question everything. And in those moments, something sacred is forged. A new you, one who does not beg for ease, one who bleeds for meaning. Resilience isn't bouncing back. It's rising, transformed. It's looking at the rubble and building something better. It's facing the mirror after defeat and saying, you haven't seen my final form. Life is not fair, it's filtered. Filtered for the worthy. Filtered for the ones who refuse to stay down. There will be days you want to quit. There will be nights that feel like they're swallowing you whole. But if you remember who you are, if you remember what you came to do, then no weapon formed against you can prosper. Because you are not here to survive. You are here to conquer. You are here to turn pain into power, doubt into dominance. You are here to rise. Every setback, a setup. Every scar, a badge. Every no, a redirection to a better yes. This life owes you nothing, but it will give you everything if you show up like you mean it. Because destiny is not given, it is earned. Earned through fire. Earned through faith. Earned through the relentless, daily decision to rise one more time. And when it's all said and done, when they speak your name, let them say you were not average. Let them say you were not typical. Let them say, here stood a person who didn't wait to be chosen. They chose themselves. Because everything we've built so far, the mindset, the vision, the action, the grit, all of it must be sustained. And sustained success is no accident. It is engineered daily, ruthlessly, intentionally. You see, we live in a world obsessed with speed. How fast can I win? How quickly can I grow? How soon will they notice me? But here's the paradox no one tells you. The fastest way to succeed is to go slow enough to do it right. This is not a sprint. This is war. A war for your future. A war for your potential. And no warrior wins by rushing the blade. This is where consistency steps into the spotlight. The unsexy, the often ignored, but the undefeated king. Because the truth is, anyone can get motivated, but only the rare ones can stay consistent. And it's in consistency where the legends are born. You want to be unstoppable? Then make your habits holy. Tie your goals to routines, not random bursts of inspiration. Wake up every single day with the same question. What can I control, and how can I conquer it? Master your morning, and you'll master your momentum. Discipline in the dark is what leads to domination in the light. It's not the giant leaps. It's the 1,000 invisible steps no one claps for. That's where the real transformation lives. So yes, be ambitious, be bold, be hungry, but also be disciplined, be deliberate, be deadly consistent. Because the world is moved by those who show up not once, not twice, but until the job is finished. And let's not forget what fuels this entire machine. Lesson 11, buried beneath all the noise, is that energy is currency. Not just physical, spiritual, mental, emotional. Protect your energy like a billionaire guards their bank account. Because every distraction, every negative conversation, every pointless scroll is a withdrawal. And you only get so much each day. So what are you investing in? What thoughts do you allow to rent space in your mind? What people do you let pour into your spirit? Are they building your vision or bleeding it dry? You cannot become magnetic if your energy is chaotic. You cannot lead others if you're drained by everything. Get serious about your peace. Get ruthless about your boundaries. Say no like your future depends on it, because it does. Greatness is high frequency. It vibrates at the level of purpose, of presence, of passion. Tune in, stay charged, stay centered. Because the world doesn't just feel your actions, it feels your energy. And from that charge, we unlock perhaps the rarest virtue in a world of noise. Focus. Laser focus. Not scattered attention, not multitasking madness, but raw, undiluted intensity aimed like an arrow at your vision. If clarity is power, then focus is the trigger. And without pulling that trigger, your dream never fires. You don't need more hours. You need more focus. You don't need more resources. You need more resourcefulness. Every time you choose to go deep instead of wide, to cut the noise and tune into the signal, you move faster, not by running harder, but by removing the drag. Focus makes time obey you. It turns days into decades. Because when you are all in, truly all in, the universe bends. So get obsessed, get tunnel vision. Not on 1,000 things, but on the few that actually move the needle. The few that are worthy of your life force. Because you are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to be legendary at one thing, the thing you were born to do. Let's talk about something they rarely teach. Patience. Not the passive kind. Not sitting around waiting for the stars to fall into your lap. No, we're talking about aggressive patience. A warrior's patience. The kind of patience that plants seeds and keeps swinging the axe. Even when there's no applause, no harvest, no sign that it's working. Why? Because patience isn't about waiting. It's about trusting. Trusting that every step, every rep, every early morning and sleepless night is compounding. That success is not microwaved, it's marinated. And while the world chases hacks and shortcuts, you're building something that will outlast fads, trends, and algorithms. Impatience is the enemy of mastery. It makes you rush what was meant to be refined. It makes you settle for what was never worthy of you. So slow down, not in effort, but in expectation. Play the long game. Let the roots grow before the tree shows. You're not building for a season. You're building for eternity. That kind of success, complete success, doesn't come quickly, but it does come completely. And while you wait, while you grind, while you bleed, there's one more ingredient, a dangerous, holy one. Faith, not religion, not belief in the stars, but a radical, unshakable confidence in the unseen. The kind of faith that walks into the darkness, not hoping the light will appear, but knowing you are the light. Faith that says, even when I see nothing, I am still becoming everything. Faith that refuses to negotiate with doubt. Faith that works like it depends on you, but believes like it depends on God. Because here's the truth. There will be moments when logic fails. When every sign says stop, when every voice says give up, but faith will whisper. This is where most people quit. You are not most people. Faith is the oxygen of champions. When your body breaks, faith keeps breathing. When your mind shakes, faith keeps believing. And when the storm comes, because it will come, faith builds the anchor that holds. Now take a breath, because we are coming to the edge of something sacred. Everything we've said, all these truths, they are not theories. They are weapons. Weapons forged for warriors willing to wield them. But here's the part no one can do for you. You have to decide, not wish, not dabble. Decide, because the line between average and legendary is a decision. The moment you draw a line in the sand and say, I will not return to who I was. I will not play small to make others comfortable. I will not die with this fire still inside me. This is the turning point. Right here. Right now. Because everything changes when you stop trying to change and you decide to become. So burn the boats. Shatter the excuses. Stand up inside yourself and say, I choose to become everything I was created to be. And from that decision, there will be no going back. Only forward. Only fire. Only greatness. You've heard the lessons. You've felt the call. Now understand this. You were never meant to live a life of quiet desperation. You were never meant to play it safe, stay small, or simply survive. You were designed to dominate, to expand, to build, to rise like thunder over the mountains of mediocrity. But no one is going to hand it to you. No one is coming to save you. And that is the greatest gift you've been given, because it means you hold the pen. You write the script. You forge the path. You are both the question and the answer. You are the storm. You are the builder. You are the one. And the time for hesitation is over. No more someday. No more when I'm ready. You are ready because you've decided to be. This life, it will not bow to your intentions. It bows to your intensity. So raise your standards until they scream. Raise your energy until the world can't ignore it. Raise your vision until it feels like prophecy. Because when you walk with purpose, talk with power, move with precision, and love with everything you've got, success doesn't become a possibility. It becomes inevitable. So go now, not tomorrow, not next week. Now, chase the thing that scares you. Build the thing no one believes in. Become the person that generations will talk about. Not because it was easy, but because you refused to settle, because you remembered who you are. And when it gets hard, because it will. When it gets lonely, because it must. When no one claps and everything hurts, you keep going. Not for the fame, not for the applause, but for the fire that only the chosen few ever touch. Because you are one of them. You are built for this. You were born for this. Now rise. Rise with every step. Rise with every breath. Rise until your old life begs you to come back. And you look it dead in the eye and say, I don't live there anymore. This is your time. This is your turn. This is your life. And it will never be the same again. Let it begin. Then let's begin not with noise, not with hype, but with raw, unfiltered truth that cuts through the lies and leads you straight to the gates of transformation. Rule 1. You are 100% responsible for everything. Everything. Not just your wins, not just your habits, but your reactions, your relationships, your results, your regrets. The moment you shift from, why is this happening to me, to, how am I creating this? Your entire reality shifts. This is the moment you reclaim your power. No more blame. No more victimhood. You are not a product of circumstances. You are a producer of outcomes. And every time you take responsibility for what's wrong, you gain power to make it right. You want change? Start with ownership. Because without ownership, you'll always outsource your growth. And once you own it all, your failures become fuel. Your trauma becomes training. Your past becomes a platform. Rule 2. Your identity sets the ceiling. You will never outwork a weak identity. Never out-hustle a broken self-image. If deep down you still see yourself as unworthy, undeserving, or small, you will unconsciously sabotage every good thing that tries to enter your life. That's why the inner game always comes before the outer success. The world doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you believe you are. So reprogram the identity. Don't wait for results to feel worthy. Step into the identity now. Speak from it. Move from it. Dress like it. Decide like it. You are not faking it. You are installing it. And once it's in your bones, the world starts to bend to match it. Rule 3. Clarity is the ultimate power. Vague goals produce vague lives. You cannot hit a target you haven't defined. You cannot build a future you haven't seen. Success starts the moment you get crystal clear on what you want, not what your parents want, not what society praises, not what your fear will tolerate, but what you are truly called to create. Clarity eliminates distraction. It crushes procrastination. It rewires your entire nervous system to hunt for the path. Don't just dream, define. Where are you going? Why does it matter? And what pain are you willing to endure to get there? Until you answer that, you're just wandering. But once you do, you become dangerous. Rule 4. Master your morning. Master your mind. Your morning is your launch pad. Win it, and the rest of the day obeys. Lose it, and you're chasing your own shadow. This is not about perfection. It's about ownership. How you start your day sets the tone for everything else. Every decision, every thought, every move. Do you begin with intention or reaction? Silence or chaos? Growth or garbage? The world is noisy, but the mornings are sacred. Protect them, ritualize them, make them holy. Because the first hour is not just time, it's direction. And if you don't choose it, The world will choose it for you. Rule 5. Discipline is a spiritual practice. Discipline is not just a strategy, it's a form of self-respect. It's the highest form of love you can show to your future self. Anyone can be motivated, but only warriors are disciplined. Because motivation is a spark, but discipline is the engine. And here's what no one tells you. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rebuild your identity. Every time you do what you said after the feeling left, you declare, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start. That's not just a habit, that's power. And it's how you become unstoppable. Rule 6. Protect your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Your environment is not neutral. It is either sharpening you or suffocating you, either lifting your frequency or lowering your fire. You do not rise above your surroundings, you sink or soar with them. Every voice you allow, every room you enter, every piece of energy you tolerate, it's either echoing your future or anchoring your past. The solid mindset knows energy is currency, and I will no longer spend mine on people who drain, distract, or dilute me. Cut fast, cut clean, not with hate, with clarity. Because when you protect your space, you preserve your soul. And that kind of environment, it becomes a greenhouse where discipline grows, vision expands, and confidence multiplies. Rule 7. What you tolerate, you teach. You don't just get what you expect. You get what you accept. And every time you let mediocrity slide in your work, your habits, your relationships, you're teaching the world how to treat you. And worse, you're teaching yourself how to treat you. So stop calling it grace when it's really fear. Stop calling it patience when it's really passivity. Stop letting your boundaries bleed because you're afraid to be misunderstood. High standards are not arrogance. They are alignment. Alignment with the future you. And the more you enforce them, the faster your reality changes to match them. Rule 8. Emotion is a tool, not a ruler. Weak minds obey their emotions. Solid minds use them. You are not your anger. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. Those are signals, not steering wheels. Information, not instruction. Feel everything. Deny nothing. But decide from alignment, not emotion. Because your feelings may be valid, but they are not always accurate. A powerful life is led by principle, not mood. By decision, not reaction. And the stronger your emotional discipline, the higher your spiritual altitude. Rule 9. Long-term thinking creates legendary living. Most people are addicted to the short term. They want it now. Fast, easy, visible. But every empire is built with one brick at a time. Over years, decades, quiet, consistent days that no one claps for. The solid mind sees beyond the moment. It invests where others indulge. It delays where others detour. It plants when others panic, because it knows the longer the vision, the bigger the life. Your life isn't measured by how fast you grow. It's measured by how deep your roots go. And nothing with shallow roots ever survives the storm. Rule 10. Become the person who no longer needs to be saved. There is a version of you that doesn't need rescuing, doesn't need approval, doesn't beg for permission, doesn't need someone to believe in them, because they already decided to believe in themselves. This version of you, they don't hope. They execute. They don't talk. They become. This is not arrogance. It's alignment. The final rule of personal development is to rise into your own authority, to become the source, not the seeker, to become the mirror others look into and remember who they are, not by shouting, not by forcing, but by walking so powerfully in your truth that your very presence awakens others. And when that happens, you no longer chase transformation. You embody it. Then brace yourself, because this is where it all locks in. This is where the words stop being information and start becoming identity. Because personal development is not a phase. It's not a journal entry, not a weekend seminar. It's a lifestyle, a spiritual contract with your higher self, signed in effort, sealed in sweat, delivered through every decision you make when no one is watching. And now you've seen the 10 rules, not suggestions, not theories, but laws, the invisible code that governs those who rise while others stay stuck. The difference between average and extraordinary is not talent. It's not education. It's not luck. It's how ruthlessly you obey the rules that sculpt your soul. You want to become great? Then stop negotiating with the parts of you that want to stay safe. Start listening to the whispers of your higher calling, the version of you that already exists in the future, calling you forward, calling you up, calling you out. And every time you obey that call, every time you do what's hard, what's right, what's required, you're not just building habits, you're becoming divine. Because personal development isn't about reaching success. It's about becoming the kind of person whose success has no choice but to follow. It's about turning your entire being into a magnet for miracles, a weapon against weakness, a monument of what's possible. This world doesn't just need more people chasing goals. It needs more people who are fully awake, people whose minds are solid, whose hearts are pure, whose discipline is unshakable, and whose vision is so clear. It pierces through every excuse like a blade through fog. That can be you. Not someday. Not when you're ready. Now, because readiness is not a feeling. It's a decision. You decide to rise. You decide to obey the rules. You decide to become the one who can no longer be denied. So look in the mirror and remember this moment. This is the moment where it all shifts, where you don't just admire greatness. You become it. You've got the rules. Now live like someone who wrote them. Most people think education ends when school does. That once you've walked across a stage in a black robe, collected a paper with your name on it, and taken a photo with a forced smile, you've made it. But that belief is the first illusion that keeps millions stuck. Because education, real education, doesn't begin with a diploma. It begins with awakening. The moment you realize your mind is a field, and every day, whether you like it or not, something is being planted. The only question is who's doing the planting, you or the world? Because if you're not the gardener of your own mind, weeds will grow. Default beliefs, lazy narratives, recycled thinking from people who quit on their own dreams and want you to do the same. That's the tragedy of most lives. They are lived on autopilot, running outdated programs, filled with borrowed opinions, and never once questioned. But education, true education, it's rebellion, it's clarity, it's choosing to break the loop and build something intentional in its place. Education is not information, it's not trivia, it's not data. Education is transformation. It's the fire that melts ignorance into insight, that reshapes identity, that cracks open the ceiling of I can't, and replaces it with watch me. Education isn't about what you know. It's about who you're becoming because of what you now understand. And that understanding, it's not passive. It's earned, not through memorization, but through sweat, through questions, through pain, through practice. You don't receive education. You forge it. That's why the truly educated never stop learning, because they're not chasing facts. They're chasing freedom, the power to choose your thoughts, the clarity to see through lies, the courage to act when the world sleeps, the wisdom to say no when everyone else says yes, the humility to grow, and the discipline to apply. That's the education that changes you, not the kind stamped on paper, the kind carved into character. So, if you think learning ends when class ends, you're already behind. The world is moving, with or without you. Every day there are new ideas, new tools, new patterns, new shifts. And the people who rise, they are not always the smartest, but they are always the most willing to keep learning. Because the truth is, in today's world, ignorance is a choice. We are surrounded by more knowledge, more access, more opportunity than any generation before us. Yet people scroll past their own future like it's entertainment. They binge noise and neglect nourishment. They chase gossip and miss greatness. They say learning is boring, but live a life they don't love. And that's why education will surprise you, because it doesn't always look like school. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like service. Sometimes it looks like struggle. But if you stay open, everything teaches you. The pain, the failure, the conflict, the chaos, the waiting, the losing, the long road no one claps for. All of it is education. So why do so few commit to it? Because real education doesn't flatter you. It confronts you. It calls out your laziness. It exposes your lies. It makes you look in the mirror and ask, am I still thinking like the person I was 5 years ago? Because if the answer is yes, then you're not educated. You're rehearsed. And there's a difference. Education doesn't just fill your mind, it stretches it. It demands you sit with discomfort long enough to discover your limits and then crush them. Most people don't grow because they don't like how growth feels. It's slow. It's humbling. It strips away your ego layer by layer. It says, you don't know enough. It says, you've got work to do. It says, you're not ready yet. But if you stay in that room of resistance, day after day, something magical happens. You become dangerous. Not because you know more trivia, but because you see deeper. You move sharper. You speak slower. You think clearer. And suddenly, the things that used to intimidate you, silence you, control you, now bow to the presence of someone who's become through education. Because here's the truth. Nobody says enough. If you don't educate yourself, the world will do it for you, and it doesn't care about your potential. It will teach you to fear, to conform, to settle, to follow, to trade your fire for comfort, your vision for approval, your uniqueness for acceptance. But the moment you take responsibility for your own education, the moment you stop waiting to be taught and start choosing to learn, that's when you take your power back. Because knowledge unlocks, it opens the next room, the next strategy, the next solution. It reveals the system behind the system, the truth behind the noise. And when you combine that knowledge with action, you're not just educated, you're equipped. Now you can build. Now you can serve. Now you can rise without asking for permission. Because you understand what's really going on, and you can move accordingly. That's why education is the great equalizer. It's not reserved for the elite. It's not sold in a classroom. It's accessed through intentional curiosity and relentless commitment. So no, education isn't about impressing people. It's about becoming someone you can trust. So what does it look like to truly be educated? It looks like discipline without needing deadlines. It looks like asking better questions instead of chasing louder answers. It looks like reading books no one assigned. It looks like reflecting when others are reacting. It looks like staying curious when the world gets cynical. It's waking up every day with one question on your mind. How can I think more clearly, act more wisely, serve more powerfully? Because real education doesn't just teach you what to think. It trains you how to think, how to see the difference between noise and signal, between hype and truth, between fast comfort and long-term freedom. It helps you spot manipulation in marketing, laziness in leadership, and weakness hiding inside loud opinions. And it doesn't stop. Not when you get the degree, not when you land the job, not when you make your first million, because education is not a phase, it's a posture. It's the way you walk through life. Humble enough to admit you don't know everything. Hungry enough to pursue what you don't understand. Smart enough to stay teachable. Strong enough to apply what you've learned. And here's where it gets real. Education doesn't always come from a teacher. Sometimes your greatest education comes from pain, from the people who betrayed you, from the dreams that didn't work out, from the moments you broke and no one noticed. Those are classrooms too. And if you're brave enough to ask, what is this here to teach me? You will graduate from experiences that once crushed you. Because wisdom isn't given, it's earned. Through fire, through silence, through falling and refusing to stay down. So if you're serious about changing your life, stop waiting for someone to hand you the keys. Go build the keys. Learn what they won't teach in school. How to manage your time, how to master your emotions, how to build wealth, how to speak with impact, how to listen deeply, how to think originally, how to unlearn what's holding you back. That's the curriculum that matters. And it's available if you'll demand more from yourself than the world expects from you. Because the truth is, education is not the path to a better life. It is the life. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start decaying. So don't let the fire go out. Feed it. Study your mentors. Reflect on your mistakes. Read. Practice. Ask. Build. And repeat. Every single day. And now, we arrive at the part, no one talks about the reason education truly matters. Not because it gets you more money, more applause, more achievements. Those are side effects. Nice, yes, but not the core. The real reason is this. Education gives you back to yourself. Every hour you invest in learning, real learning clears away a little more of the fog, the doubt, the noise, the shame, the confusion. And what's left behind isn't just a smarter person. It's a truer person. A person who no longer needs to perform for acceptance. A person who no longer chases validation. A person who walks into rooms quietly and still commands them. Because they know, because they've built, because they've earned who they are. That's why this matters. Because there are people out there right now being paid more than you, heard more than you, seen more than you, not because they're more worthy, but because they learned faster. They took responsibility sooner. They read while others slept. They practiced while others complained. They got up when others sat down. And you can too. That's the surprise in all of this. That education isn't reserved for the privileged, it's activated by the hungry. Not the smartest, not the loudest, but the ones who choose to stay curious when it would be easier to stay comfortable. The ones who'd rather ask, why not me? Instead of, why is it so hard? The ones who don't chase shortcuts, they chase substance. So the next time you feel behind, overwhelmed, underqualified, remember this. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to learn one thing better. Think one layer deeper. Move one level higher. Because education is a staircase that never ends, and the only thing that separates the powerful from the passive is this. One keeps climbing. You want confidence? Learn. You want wealth? Learn. You want to speak, lead, build, grow, shift, serve, shine? Learn. Because education is the only investment that can never be stolen, never be taxed, never be lost. And the more you have of it, the more you become. So never again say, I'm not smart enough. Say, I'm not done yet. Never again say, I'm not like them. Say, I haven't learned what they've learned yet. Never again hide behind the excuse of background, of failure, of time. Because the school is always open. The only question is, will you show up? Because if you do, if you show up again and again, with your heart open and your ego silent, you won't just surprise others with what you learn. You'll surprise yourself with who you become. And that is the importance of education. You don't get the life you want by chance. You get it by design. You don't stumble into greatness. You build it thought by thought, plan by plan, decision by decision, because hope is not a strategy. Wishing is not execution, and waiting is not progress. The truth is, most people want a better life, but they're thinking like someone stuck in survival. They're not building plans, they're building excuses. They're not making moves, they're reacting to moments. But you're here because you're done with that. You're here because something in you refuses to keep drifting. You're here because you've realized a good life doesn't come from reacting. It comes from thinking strategically, not rigidly, not coldly, but intentionally. Strategic thinking isn't just for CEOs and generals. It's for anyone who refuses to waste their one shot at this life. If your days feel random, if your outcomes feel inconsistent, if your purpose feels out of reach, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you haven't been taught to think like a builder, to think like someone who's architecting the life they want, not just hoping it shows up. That ends today, because you're going to learn how to think ahead, how to design with clarity, how to move with foresight, how to stop reacting to life and start directing it. And the first lesson? Think in outcomes, not emotions. Lesson 1, think in outcomes, not emotions. Emotions are important. They tell you what hurts, what matters, what needs to heal. But they should never be the driver of your decisions, because emotions shift like weather, and you cannot build a legacy on a storm. Most people live their lives in emotional reaction. They quit when they're tired. They snap when they're triggered. They stop when they're scared. And then they wonder why they don't feel powerful. But strategy says, feel your feelings, but follow your outcomes. What's the result you want? What's the life you're building toward? And what must you do even when it's uncomfortable to get there? Strategic thinking removes the drama. It clears the fog. It asks, what action leads me closer to my vision? Not, what do I feel like doing right now? Because here's the truth. Your feelings don't decide your future, your decisions do. When you start thinking in outcomes, you stop chasing approval. You stop being reactive. You start playing the long game. And in the long game, discipline outperforms mood every single time. Now let's go deeper. Lesson 2, reverse engineer everything. Don't just dream. Deconstruct. What's the exact outcome you want? Income, impact, freedom, influence? Name it. Write it. Get specific. Now, instead of asking, how do I get there? Ask, if I were already there, what would I have done to get here? That question flips everything. It pulls you out of confusion and into clarity, because now you're not guessing, you're building backward. Want a business? Study the model. Want to speak on stages? Study the steps. Want emotional peace? Study the habits of those who have it. This is how strategic thinkers move. They start with a vision and build the bridge backwards. No more hoping. No more winging it. No more walking blindly into another year. You reverse engineer it, one layer at a time. Lesson 3, leverage is the multiplier of strategic thinkers. You are not here to do everything. You are here to do what matters effectively. Strategic people don't win because they work harder. They win because they understand leverage. They know how to apply a small force in the right place to create a massive impact. Leverage is when one move does the work of 10, when one relationship opens 5 doors, when one decision frees you from 20 distractions. So ask yourself, where is my time going? Where is my energy going? What am I doing manually that could be automated? What am I doing alone that could be delegated? Strategic people remove friction. They remove the unnecessary. They remove the ego that says, I have to do it all myself. Because the goal isn't to be busy, it's to be effective. And leverage is the shortcut. That's not a shortcut. It's smart work, not more work. Want to scale your results? Find your leverage points. Build systems. Invest in people. Create content that works while you sleep. Say no to 90% of distractions so you can dominate the 10% that truly matters. Now here's another one. Lesson 4. Every day must point to the vision. This is not about perfection, it's about alignment. Every day you live is either pushing you closer to your dream or further into delay disguised as comfort. The food you eat, the way you speak, the calls you take, the content you consume, the people you allow close. It's all building something. The only question is what? So the strategic thinker doesn't ask, was today busy? They ask, was today in alignment? Because motion without direction is waste. But motion with vision, that's momentum. That's when life bends. That's when you stop surviving days and start designing decades. Lesson 5. Use mental models, not just motivation. Motivation can spark action. But strategic thinkers don't rely on sparks. They rely on systems of thought. They think in frameworks. They ask better questions. They don't just react to what's happening. They understand how to think about it. A mental model is a lens, a way of seeing, a shortcut to clarity when others are drowning in complexity. They ask, what's the root cause here, not just the symptom? If this were simple, what would it look like? What's the 80-20 here, the 20% of effort that gives 80% of results? When you build a toolbox of models, first principles, opportunity cost, second-order thinking, inversion, you outthink the chaos. You rise above the noise. Because strategy isn't just execution. It's discernment. It's knowing where not to focus. It's knowing when to stop as much as when to go. Lesson 6. Schedule thinking time. Most people schedule tasks. Strategic thinkers schedule thought. Because clarity doesn't come by accident. Breakthroughs don't happen in inboxes. Solutions aren't found while you're drowning in meetings. Thinking is working. And the clearer you're thinking, the less effort your action requires. Even 30 minutes a week, no phone, no distractions, just pen, paper, and deep questions like, what is the bottleneck in my progress right now? What am I avoiding that needs my courage? What would make everything I'm doing easier or irrelevant? This habit alone can transform your entire year. Because most people are busy being busy. But strategic thinkers, they pause so they can pull ahead. Lesson 7. Always ask, what's the one move that changes everything? This is the power question. The one that removes overwhelm. The one that silences noise. The one that unlocks exponential progress. In every season, in every project, in every problem, there's almost always one move that changes the whole game. Strategic thinkers hunt for that move. They don't try to do everything. They look for the keystone action, the domino that knocks down 10 others. The one thing that, if solved, unlocks everything else. It could be a conversation you're avoiding, a habit you haven't locked in, a hire you need to make, a fear you need to face. One thing, find it, name it, do it. Because when you think like a strategist, your results stop being accidental. They become inevitable. Let's bring it home. Because now you know a better life isn't built on chance. It's built on strategy. It's not about hustle. It's not about luck. It's not about waiting for the right time. It's about clarity, leverage, discipline, and most of all, it's about thinking like a creator, not a survivor. You weren't meant to drift. You weren't born to repeat what's average. You were built to architect something different, to design with purpose, to move with foresight, to live a life that is not reactive, but intentional. And here's the truth. If your life doesn't feel like it fits, you were never meant to fit it. You were meant to change it, to reshape it, to rethink it strategically so it aligns with who you are becoming, not who you've been told to be. From today forward, let this be your standard. No more random days. No more wasted energy. No more letting circumstances decide what happens next. From now on, you decide. You build the life you want on purpose. You don't beg for outcomes, you engineer them. You don't just wish for impact, you leverage every hour to create it. You don't just react to life, you lead it. This is what strategic thinking gives you. A mind that moves faster than fear. A focus that outlasts fatigue. A future that doesn't need to be found because it's being built one move at a time. So don't ask if it's possible. Don't ask if it's too late. Ask, what am I willing to think like, act like, and build like to create the life I know I was meant for? Because you don't need another goal. You need a strategy. And now you've got one. So go build. Deliberately, boldly, strategically, because this is your time and the life you want is waiting to be designed.